Welcome to this webinar about the Kimberley Food Community 2023 Early Findings Summary. I would like to acknowledge our funder Healthway and our project partners including WA Country Health Service, the Social Enterprise Wicked Lab, the Public Health Advocacy Institute and ECU, the Centre for People, Place and Planet. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which you are viewing this webinar. We recognise their continuing connection to the land and the beautiful ocean and thank them for protecting this country for thousands of generations. We respect all elders, past and present. So just as a refresher, our project aims to identify, map, evaluate and strengthen food security initiatives across the WA regions. And in particular, for this case, that's supporting food security action in the Kimberley. Now I'm going to take you through some of our Kimberley Food Community Project activities to date. And that includes the project launch, which we held in Broome and online in November of 2022. We then conducted 25 interviews capturing 30 initiatives with people running food security initiatives across the Kimberley. We then returned to Broome in August of 2023 to hold our results sharing and action planning workshop, where we co-designed action plans with initiative leaders who had previously participated in an interview to further strengthen their work. And at our launch in 2022, we asked people what vision they had for a food secure Kimberley region, and with those insights we created this graphic recording that you can see here to showcase the kind of themes people wanted to see. So they wanted to see things like state and local government support, so looking for more support for local collaborations and local planning schemes to enable healthy environments. Another theme was focus on home and community gardens, so more grants for initiatives such as edible streetscapes. Another was education and empowerment, so for example building knowledge, skills and confidence around cooking and preparing healthy food. And another theme was equity and choice, so people having access to nutritious food and no one going hungry. This vision was based on the brainstorming activity at the launch, but it was also shared through social media sites in the Kimberley region to get people's additions and feedback, and we also asked people to circulate it through their networks so that they could also contribute to this vision. Then during the interviews with initiatives leaders, we also asked them about their vision for a food secure Kimberley region, and some of their additions included increasing healthy food affordability and access for all, government support, collaboration and funding for food security initiatives, improvement of nutrition policies and support for policy compliance. There was also increasing access and use of locally grown produce and reducing food waste, improved food transport options and decreased food miles, as well as more community-driven initiatives such as community gardens and food swapping groups. Next up is a snapshot of our results that we've uncovered after our first round of interviews and action planning in the Kimberley. This includes we conducted 25 interviews and looked in depth at 30 initiatives focusing on food security. And when we asked initiative leaders who they were working in partnership with, we found that there were 76 partnering organisations. So when we interviewed people, we asked them things like who they work with and where they get their funding from. And this helps us to build a map or an understanding of the kinds of different organisations that are working to implement these initiatives. We also mapped the interviewed initiatives against the dimensions or aspects of food security, and some can address multiple where relevant. So we found 12 initiatives focusing on food availability, 13 focusing on food access, 19 focusing on food utilisation, 1 focusing on the stability of those first 3 dimensions, 1 focusing on agency, and 1 focusing on sustainability. So we know that there are more than those 30 initiatives that we interviewed happening in the Kimberley region, but this is just a snapshot of what's happening. This image gives you a picture of the types of initiatives we interviewed. So there were 14 food literacy and health promotion initiatives, 6 emergency food relief and community programs, 3 networks and/or alliances, 2 social enterprises and/or businesses, 2 farmers markets and food events, 1 First Nations led project and 1 community garden and/or food swapping group, and then 1 policy or strategic plan. And of course, these types of initiatives are spread across various dimensions of food security, and some may cover multiple as well. For example, food access is covered by food relief and community programs. Food utilisation is covered by food literacy and health promotion initiatives. And then both food access and availability are covered by community garden type initiatives as well. We've also mapped the interviewed initiatives across the lifespan to showcase where the focus areas of the initiatives are and where there are some opportunities as well. So as you can see, majority of the initiatives that we interviewed are focused on school-aged children or adults, and they are less focused on early years youth and senior or older adults. Then we've also shown this information in another way through a socio-ecological model. So this shows the different levels of intervention that these initiatives are focusing on. For example, at the individual level, they're focusing on knowledge, skills, or attitudes of individual clients or people that they're working directly with. At an interpersonal level, these ones are focusing on relationships between family or social networks, or looking at the connection between the different levels of social networks and partnerships. At an institutional level, these ones are often embedded within schools or other settings like workplaces, for example, or thinking about how they might be emergency relief projects that are focusing on supporting clients from within different institutions. Then, at a community level, these ones focus on different partnerships between community organisations. And then we have the public policy level. For example, this one listed here isn't a public policy per se, but it relates to supporting a variety of policy frameworks and initiatives. So this gives us a snapshot view of the kinds of focus areas that the initiatives that we interviewed in the Kimberley region have. So there are more at that individual, interpersonal and institutional levels, and fewer at the community and public policy levels. As I mentioned earlier, during the interviews, we asked people who they work in partnership with, who their stakeholders are, and where they get their funding from. And this helped us to build this partnership map that you can see here, which we generated through the Wikilab software. So this map helps us to understand the kinds of different organisations that are working in the space and how they're potentially working together to implement initiatives. In terms of these stakeholders' partnerships and collaborations, there were on average 2.5 partnering organisations per initiative, and the two main types of organisations were not-for-profits and state government. So this just shows the range of different types of collaborators that are working on food security in the Kimberley region. Next, we have our Kimberley Transition Card, or our Systems Change Map, which really visualises how the Kimberley food security system is contributing to 36 systems change characteristics across 9 different focus areas. So it shows the 30 initiatives that we interviewed down the left-hand side here, and they're listed in terms of the name of the initiative. Then all of these columns are the 9 different focus areas that make up our framework, and you can find more information about that in some of our other webinars. Then the coloured tiles indicate whether the initiative possesses that focus area's characteristics. So each characteristic aligns with a question asked during the interview, and the same coloured tiles are all of the characteristics for that one focus area. For example, the red tiles are the 8 characteristics under focus area 1. So if the tile is coloured, then the initiative possesses the characteristic, and if it's blank, they either responded no to our question or couldn't provide evidence as to how they possess the characteristic. So there's no right or wrong answer, and it's not necessarily a bad thing if they don't possess them. It just offers these windows of opportunities to strengthen different parts or aspects of that initiative through small tweaks or changes. Then you can see that we have these 3 red boxes. So they're the focus areas that have the most windows of opportunity. So focus areas 5, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 were the different focus areas that we identified to work on in our action planning workshop when we returned to the region. So focus area 5 is around building collective knowledge. So this could be about using technology to share information with others addressing food security in the region, or connecting people who have different perspectives on food security. Then focus areas 6 and 7 could be about bridging community programs to government strategic plans, and then focus areas 8 and 9 might be about how government can share information about food security initiatives that are happening in their region with their jurisdiction. So taking a bit of a closer look at those focus areas, we can see that 56% of interviewed initiatives possessed Focus Area 1, Shake Things Up, 49% of initiatives possessed Focus Area 2, Amplify Action, 53% of initiatives possessed Focus Area 3, Create Identity and Combine Resources, and 48% of those interviewed initiatives possessed Focus Area 4, Embed, Watch and Respond. While under the focus areas to strengthen, we can see that 35% of interviewed initiatives possessed Focus Area 5, which is Build Collective Knowledge, 13% of initiatives possessed Focus Area 6, Align Government and Community, 3% of initiatives possessed Focus Area 7, which is Shape Policies with Community Voices, then 28% of initiatives possessed Focus Area 8, Tap into Community Know-how, and 7% of initiatives possessed Focus Area 9, Promote Community Initiatives. So this analysis here is how we determined that these focus areas that you can see here had the most windows of opportunity, and we focused on strengthening those areas with initiative leaders during our action planning workshop. So in August of 2023, we returned to the region to hold the Kimberley Food Community Results Sharing and Action Planning Workshop. And this workshop aimed to share early findings of the project's 2023 cycle and co-design an action plan with each initiative leader to further strengthen their work. So the actions were realistic, small tweaks or value adds rather than whole initiative changes. So 4 people participated in action planning in person, online, or self-completed their action plans with the food community team's support. So these are collectively aiming to address systems change characteristics across the food security system in the Kimberley. So during the action planning workshop, in-person and online attendees contributed to a discussion about new food security initiatives needed in the region to better support food security systems change, and these new initiatives spanned food security aspects or dimensions. So under food availability, there were ideas such as advocating for freight subsidies. Then under food access, there were ideas such as social enterprises focusing on food security. Then under food utilisation, there were things like free food safety training ran by the Shire of Broome. Then under stability, there were things like starting up a food collective, so the idea of starting up a food collective and having a 10-point plan to go with that. Under agency, there were ideas such as social supermarket initiatives, similar to the Irumugadu store in the Pilbara. And then under sustainability, there were ideas such as the food collective partnering with philanthropic organisations or groups for funding. So that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you for watching. You can contact the food community team via our website, follow us on Facebook or email us at foodcommunity@ecu.edu.au.